Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Flerf a Week. I've been struggling a lot about getting into this biblical cosmology topic, but because too many preachers on the wrong side of science really believe that what's written in the Bible is a flat word, I'm going to devote the time necessary to the subject. But before we start, I want to say a big thank you to my Patreon that helps me improve the hardware and the animation of the channel. A big preacher, if not the biggest of all, of the biblical flat word is of course Rob Skiba, who has also received several episodes here on the channel, links are in the description. The problem with him is that he is afflicted with the greatest failure of biblical people, and he simply doesn't understand Hebrew, so he interprets the Bible according to the various translations. The first 80 seconds of the video have been dealt with in the past, so I skip them and I start straight from the Bible-related section.
The scholars over there at Logos Bible Software do not believe the earth is flat. Say that again with me. They do not believe the earth is flat. Okay? They don't believe it. But they believe that the people who wrote the Bible did, which creates an interesting problem for them.
As most of you already know, I'm a religious man, and I never had a problem with the scriptures, and certainly not after studying physics and studying the Bible in depth. If the creation in Genesis was to describe a flat word, then it would have been written, wasn't it? But because it's not written explicitly, all they have is speculations about the erroneous translation of the word rakia. We'll get that soon.
It's like, look, you just make a really articulate case for this is what the words mean, this is what they clearly believe, and then you say you don't believe it. So I don't know what's up with that, but...
Not really. Those who have translated the Bible into Latin and then into English may have thought that the word is flat, and so their translation points there. Fortunately, precisely in Hebrew, the Bible clearly and sharply indicates what official science is talking about. Link to a Facebook page that deals with exactly that topic is in the description.
This is their depiction of the ancient Hebrew conception of the universe. I've gone a little deeper. This is not thus saith the Lord, okay? This is thus thinketh Rob. I'm not telling you this is where you live. I'm telling you this is what I see in my mind when I look at the ancient texts. As an artist, this is what I come up with. And according to all the references you see there, we see that we live in a self-contained three-tiered system of heaven, earth, the underworld.
Rob Skiba, you're an idiot. Is there any need to expand? Okay, let's expand a little. This description of the biblical cosmology is simply childish and is in no way connected to what's actually written. Nowhere in the Bible it's written about a rigid dome and water above us, and also the underworld is more conceptual than a physical place.
There is a solid firmament, dome, vault over us, according to the text you see there.
1 second. Let's talk about the firmament, which is a word that Flerfs are absolutely passionate about because it's vogue enough and therefore it can be interpreted the way they want it. The meaning of this word's root is to make something thin and flexible as described in Exodus 39:3, as appears on the screen at this very moment. And because of that, a rakia simply can't be anything hard. All the talking about firmament that is firm and hard are the results of a poor and trendy translation by people who do not know enough Hebrew. The source of the mistake is the Greek word stereoma, which is the translation of the word rakia, as appears in the translation of the 70, the Septuagint. And as you can see, the translation is not rigid but stationary. When they wrote the Vulgate, the Latin version of the Bible, the word was translated into firmamentum, which also described something stationary. The problem is that, as opposed to stereoma, the word firmamentum has another meaning, which is support. This is where the mistake came from, and today everyone is wrong about it. Although it takes exactly 10 minutes to check the whole thing, including the online search in the Septuagint and the Vulgate.
He who is thrown sits above the heavens, the waters, according to the text you see there.
Rob Skiba, you're an idiot. This is not what the Creator meant when he said, "Heaven is my throne and earth is my footstool." Isaiah 66:1. God is not a physical being, and therefore his throne is not a physical being, and so is his footstool. I really think that people who take the Bible too literally will not be allowed to make videos that the vast majority of their content are abstract concepts.
The earth is inscribed in a circular, flat fashion into something with four corners and surrounded by water, according to the text you see there.
I'll sum it all up with just no. Nowhere in the Bible it's written that the land is round, And if you still want to bring the verse sitting on the circle of the earth, Isaiah 40:22, we'll get there soon.
There are floodgates, windows in the firmament. Earth is a geocentric, stationary world set on pillars.
First of all, the windows are in the heavens and not in the rakia, which means that your interpretation is incorrect. Besides, the so-called pillars of the earth are the foundations on which the land sits, not necessarily pillars. Again, bad translation.
Indeed, from Genesis to Revelation, the earth is consistently described as fixed and not moving, spinning, orbiting, etc. Circular with edges, corners, pillars, foundations, etc. Under a dome within which the sun, moon, and stars were placed on day 4. Inside that structure that I showed you a minute ago is something that like the footstool of God right there. And I say, look, which model is a better fit for a stationary world set on a firm foundation of pillars under a solid dome within which the sun, moon, and stars move? I think it's a pretty easy answer when you look at that.
And that, my friends, is called intellectual dishonesty. Mr. Skiba assumes that the word is what he thinks, and then he tries to interpret the scriptures accordingly, blatantly ignoring words that are uncomfortable for him. Nowhere a stationary world is described, nowhere a world with corners or that sitting on pillars is described, and most important, nowhere a rigid dome is described. All of these interpretations stem from a poor translation of the Hebrew source of the Bible.
Of course, those who disagree, who think the Bible it doesn't say this, they only got 2 scriptures. 2. And actually, neither one of them work for them. They have Isaiah's circle of the earth and Job hangs the earth on nothing. Neither one of them work for them. Hangs the earth on nothing. The model that they believe is the earth in the Copernican model is literally hung on the gravity of the sun. So you can't even use that one. And circle doesn't mean ball. Doesn't mean sphere.
Wow, that's just nasty of you not to refer to the verse suspends the earth over nothing in the context of the flat earth and just saying it doesn't work for the heliocentric model supporters either. Rob Skiba, you're a despicable man. And for the second verse, let us for a moment go over the meaning of the word chug and why it's actually written chug and not circle or round, given that these 2 words already appear in Kings 1:7-23. So the word chug describes everything cyclical or periodical. I mean, every circle is cyclic, but not everything cyclic is a circle. For example, the word chag, which means a holiday, derived directly from the periodicity of the calendar. From here on, there are infinite directions to which the above verse can be taken, and what I particularly like is that the Creator is constant while all of the creation itself moves in its cycles.
For me, though, it really was the firmament. That was the one that just, man, it sealed the deal in more ways than one. Unquestionably, the thing is hard, firm, supporting the waters above, attached to the earth, within which Yahuwah placed the sun, moon, and stars, and upon which his throne sits. Clearly, this is a very important issue to Yahuwah.
It seems to me that I've already covered all of these points in the last few minutes, so there is no need to elaborate again.
The only model that accommodates every aspect of the firmament is the circular, enclosed world model. The only way around this is to grossly misrepresent the scriptures, yanking the true meanings of the words used out of context and fantasizing about definitions for those words, which are not even remotely supported by the text nor the historical context in which the scriptures were written.
Or maybe it's just the opposite. Flotards and creationists, which the vast majority of whom do not know Hebrew, don't know enough and not know at all, interpret the Bible according to the translation and not the source. And they do not know how many incarnations the translation have been through and whether any of the translators had an agenda or a wrong worldview when translating the way he did. And that's for today, friends. Hopefully today we learned how to avoid psychological attacks from Flerfs and why it's important to be able to read the source without the mediation of biased people. I want us all to take the time to thank Rob Skiba for providing us with another fun episode where he simply illustrates the depth of ignorance and bias he is in. Anyone who still gets in trouble with understanding the biblical words is more than welcome to ask questions in the comments. Feel free to like and share. I was, as always, rndthinker, and see you in the next video.